versus SmallRig versus Neewer versus PGYTECH filters for the Osmo Pocket 4P. Let's see which filter system is going to work the best for you. But before I start, I do want to mention that I got all of these filters for free from these brands in exchange of making this video. But honestly, I don't really care what filter system you're going to buy for yourself. I just want to help you as much as possible to choose the correct filter system for you, and that's basically it. And also today I'm using the Luna Ultra as my talking head camera because my main camera is getting repaired at the moment. So that's basically how this camera looks in a studio environment. And if you're wondering how it compares to the Pocket 4P in the studio, you can watch my previous video about the SmallRig SSD, because in that video I used the Pocket 4P as my studio camera basically. Anyhow, with that said, let's talk about the price differences between these filters. So by far the most expensive filters in here are the ones from Freewell, and you have 3 different filter packs to choose from. This is the standard filter pack for $50 and it includes ND8 up to ND64, and then this is the ND-PL pack, also $50, includes ND8-PL up to ND64-PL, and finally this is the everyday pack, which includes light pollution reduction, glow mist quarter, ND1000, and also a CPL filter for $60. And if you want to get the entire collection, you can get all of these filters together for $150. Second most expensive pack is the one from SmallRig. This is also $50, but you get slightly more filters than with the Freewell filters. You get ND16, ND64, ND256, CPL, and a black mist quarter, along with a magnetic base ring. And then third place goes to Neewer. You have the standard ND pack from ND8 up to ND64 for only $40. And then you have the VND 1 to 5 pack with VND 1 to 5, black mist quarter, and then a CPL filter for only $39. And by far the cheapest option in here is the one from PGYTECH. This kit is only $35 and it includes ND8, ND16, ND64, and ND256. And also PGYTECH sells some filters individually for $20 each. Like for example, you have a VND 3 to 7 stops, black mist quarter, and a CPL filter. Links to everything is going to be down below. Now let's take a look at the overall design of these filters and the overall usability, if you will. So first of all, my favorite carrying case from these filter packs is the one from Freewell. Reason number one is because it has clear labeling of what filter kit you are using and also for what camera this filter kit is for. With the SmallRig, it's just a clear case, no labeling. Yes, you can see kind of the filters, but it's a bit better in my opinion when you have like clear labeling on the box. Neewer is also like clear, no labeling at all, and PGYTECH is basically the same. And I know this is a very minor thing, but if you have multiple cameras like myself and then multiple filters for those cameras, it's going to be a bit easier to find the right filters with the Freewell box because you have clear labeling basically on the box. And also the build quality of the box overall is a bit better with the Freewell system. Everything in here is like rubberized and it feels super high quality. The SmallRig system is just cheap foam, and also the box itself feels a little bit cheaper than the one from Freewell. The Neewer box is nice. The box itself is nice, but the inside is also foam, feels a bit cheaper. And then the PGYTECH has a pretty nice box. The quality is good, but the inside is also kind of like foamy material, which is not as nice as the rubberized material on the Freewell filters. But my favorite thing about the Freewell box is that you have 2 spare empty slots in here, which makes it significantly easier to basically swap between filters. Because then basically just remove the filter from the camera, put it in an empty slot like so, and then take the filter you need and basically attach it to your camera. It makes it a bit more convenient to swap between filters. Now, if you want to make this experience of swapping filters even more convenient and effortless, I would highly recommend getting one of these attachments for the Pocket 4P. I have one in here from SmallRig and also from PGYTECH. Personally, I prefer the one from SmallRig because it has more attachments on the sides, and also it feels more secure overall when it's on the camera because it is physically bigger, as you can see. compared to the PGYTECH attachment. But the most important thing is to get like a attachment basically that has a screw on the back to attach a camera plate. And this basically allows you to use one of these camera clips. You can attach them to your backpack, and then you can slide the camera into this camera clip, and now your hands are basically empty. And if you're gonna take the Freewell system in here, open the box, you can quickly, you know, remove the filter from the camera, put it in the box, and then take a new filter and just attach it to the camera without having to put the camera down on a desk, table, and whatnot, or even worse, having to hold the camera in one hand and then this box on the other hand, and then you're basically doing this, and then filters are going to fall down. It's more annoying. If you want to make it a bit more convenient and quicker, I would highly recommend getting this. You slide it inside and basically, you know, comfortably, with no pressure, attach and reattach your filters. Now, in terms of like the overall filter build quality, the filters from PGYTECH and Freewell feel pretty much the same as the original filter from the camera. So plastic build quality, and the mechanism on the back, as you can see, is exactly identical. Now, here is how the Neewer filter compares to the original filter from the camera. The build quality in here is a bit better. It is metal, feels a bit more sturdy, and also the mechanism on the back looks a bit different, but it attaches the same way to the camera. Just put and twist basically, but it looks, you know, significantly different than the Freewell or PGYTECH filters. And now my least favorite system in here is the one from SmallRig. With this SmallRig system, you get like a magnetic base ring, which you attach to your camera like so, and then you take one of the filters and basically magnetically attach to the camera like that. And the reason why I don't like it is because fiddling with magnets is a bit more annoying in my opinion than just putting the filter on and twisting it. It's a bit more secure, you know, doing it manually than with magnets. And also you constantly have to remember in what orientation to put the filter. So for example, if I'm going to put it in this way, it's not going to go. It has to be with the SmallRig logo basically on the left like so. So you're gonna have to remember also how to attach the filter, and it's a bit more finicky in my personal opinion than using the filters from Freewell, PGYTECH or Neewer, but maybe you would like the magnetic system a bit more. Right, and now let's move on to optics. I want to show you the differences with these filters when it comes to the optical quality, which I feel like is the most important thing when it comes to filters overall. So let's see how they compare to each other. So here is Freewell, Neewer, PGYTECH, and SmallRig. These are all CPL filters, and I would say the CPL filters look more or less the same on all of the brands. If I had to choose a winner, I would say the PGYTECH and Freewell filters are the best, because I'm going to enable this in here, which is going to open like a video file in here with the bare lens without any filters. So this is the bare lens. And I feel like the image from Freewell and PGYTECH is a bit closer to the bare lens in here. The SmallRig image is a bit more blue and red. This one is definitely more red. In here it looks a bit more natural, and also in here. But honestly, you can easily fix all of these shots in post-production without any problem. All right, next in here are the ND8 filters from these brands. So Freewell, Neewer, PGYTECH. And honestly, all of them look good. I can't say that any of them look significantly bad. Maybe the Neewer is slightly shifting towards magenta and red, but it's very minimal, and all of them are super close to the image from the bare lens, as you can see. Now let's switch to the ND16, and here we can see clear differences. Let me open the image with the bare lens. It's going to open up in here with the SmallRig image. This is the bare lens. So this is what, you know, you want to be close to this image basically. And the SmallRig image is definitely not any close to this. It's significantly more blue and magenta, and then the Neewer image is significantly more red and magenta than the bare lens. And I would say the Freewell and PGYTECH image is a bit more green, but it looks a bit closer to this image than the image from SmallRig or Neewer. Personally, I would take the image from the Freewell filter or the PGYTECH filter because the skin tones look a bit closer to this, whereas in here my skin is shifted towards like red, as you can see, and also with this filter at the same time. And in here, it remains more or less the same as with the bare lens and also with the PGYTECH filter. Alright, next in here I've compared the ND32 filters from Freewell, Neewer, and also I used the Neewer VND 125 at ND32, basically 5 stops. And this in here by far looks the worst. Not only is the image super warm, but also you get like heavy vignetting, as you can see, super distracting compared to the bare lens. And then the image from Freewell looks amazing. It almost looks identical to the bare lens image, so no major artifacts. And then this image also looks significantly more red to me than the image from the bare lens. If I'm going to zoom on my skin, you can see my face looks red in here, whereas in here it looks more like orange and yellow basically. So I'll have to basically fix this in post-production, which is a bit more annoying. So by far the best one in here is the one from Freewell, and the worst one is the one from Neewer with the VND 1 to 5 stops at 5 stops. All right, here is the ND64, and again same thing for SmallRig. It shifts towards like magenta and blue, which is so different than the bare lens image. As you can see, the bare lens looks warm, yellow and natural, whereas with the SmallRig filter it looks significantly more magenta and blue, especially the skin tones. As you can see, they shift heavily. And then the image from Neewer also looks too red to me, again too much magenta and red in the image. And the image from PGYTECH and Freewell looks, you know, significantly closer to this, looks a lot more closer to this, especially when it comes to skin tones. That's the most important part in my personal opinion. All right, now here I compared the quarter mist filters on all of the brands, and I would say the strongest one in here is by far from Freewell. If you want the strongest effect, you will get that from Freewell. As you can see, there's barely any contrast left in the shadows or highlights. It looks very faded, and that's maybe something you want. And then PGYTECH is like second best in terms of like overall strength of the effect. And then with the Neewer, I can barely see any effect in the shadows. It's mainly happening in the highlights and also only slightly. And then with the SmallRig mist, it's somewhat comparable to the PGYTECH mist, but I feel like with the PGYTECH the image looks a bit cleaner. So if you want the strongest effect, go for the Freewell filter, and if you want the least strong effect, go for the Neewer filter. And if you want something in between, either go for the SmallRig filter or the PGYTECH filter. All right, and here I compared the VNDs from Neewer and PGYTECH. So this is Neewer 1 to 5 at 1 stop, and this is Neewer 1 to 5 at 5 stops. This is PGYTECH at 3 stops and then at 7 stops. And in my opinion, the Neewer filter performs significantly worse on the high end at like 5 stops. As you can see, there is significantly more vignetting, whereas in here it looks more balanced. Let me just enable the bare lens image. And as you can see, all the filters heavily shift towards like green and yellow. That's to be expected though with a VND filter, but I would take this image in here any day over this image. All right, next I've done some comparisons with the Freewell ND edition and ND PL edition with all strengths basically. So this is ND8, and as you can see, the ND image looks a bit cleaner. The ND8 PL image is a bit warmer, shifts the image towards like warmer colors. And then this is ND16 PL versus ND16. Again, I prefer the image in here, looks significantly cleaner, especially the skin tones. ND16 PL significantly warmer. And now here is ND32 versus ND32 PL. Again, the image from the normal filter looks a bit cleaner. This one is slightly more warm. And then here is ND64. I prefer the image in here than in here. So if you want the absolute best optical results, go for the standard filter edition. But of course, if you want to also control the polarization while reducing exposure at the same time, this would be a better option. Right, and finally, here is a comparison between the PGYTECH ND256 to the SmallRig ND256, and definitely I prefer the filter from PGYTECH because my skin, as you can see, looks pretty clean, whereas in here I look super red because the filters overall from SmallRig have a heavy like blue/magenta red color shift to the image compared to the other filters. So I would say if you want the best performance to price ratio filter pack in here, go for the PGYTECH option because the performance with these filters was amazing overall. Even with the VND 327 stops, it was somewhat okay considering this is a VND and VND filters always have like color shifts and issues, but it was significantly cleaner than the option from Neewer. And then I would say personally, I would avoid the option from SmallRig because of the heavy blue and red magenta color shift that all of these filters have. And also, I'm not really a big fan of the magnetic system in here because it's a bit more cumbersome to use, at least for me. And the option from Neewer was okay, I guess. Not too bad, fantastic build quality, and the optical performance wasn't too bad. Not as good as PGYTECH or the option from Freewell, but I would say it's slightly better overall than the option from SmallRig. Overall, I would say if you want to save as much money as possible and still get like a good filter performance, go for the PGYTECH option because the performance, as you saw, is really good, especially at this price point. But if you want the best of the best experience with a really good quality case and also lots of filter options, go for the Freewell option. And if you like the magnetic system, maybe go for the SmallRig option. Personally, I'm not really a big fan. And then the Neewer option is okay, but I would definitely choose the option from PGYTECH over the Neewer because of the better optical performance. Anyhow, links to everything in here is going to be down below. Thank you all the companies for sending these filters over, for making this comparison basically. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. I'm also going to make the same comparison but for the Luna Ultra filters, basically maybe like somewhere around next week, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.